I'm Sylvia Leonard Wolfe, and I have been a member of the Appraisers Association of America since 1978.
I am Sebastian Clark, and I am a board member of the Appraisers Association of America.
I am Sylvia Leonard Wolfe, and I am a member of the Appraisers Association, a 50-year member, and a past president.
And tell me, what motivated you to become an appraiser?
I actually didn't know that there was such a thing as appraising as a profession. However, it seemed that everything I had done up until that realization was in preparation for it. So I had studied fine art. I'd taken many graduate classes in fine art, but I grew up in New York City on the Upper West Side with a mother who was passionate about the arts. Fine art, dance, music, exhibitions, everything. So really most of my childhood was spent in the Museum of Modern Art. You know, the Appraisers Association in a way has become a home for appraisers. The camaraderie is absolutely essential. Now when I joined it, the association was transitioning from an old boys club, a couple of old guys from the downtown auction galleries, and they would get together once every whenever, and they realized that they needed to become more professional and have standards and become more of a formal organization. It used to be that appraisers were people who either grew up in the art and antiques business, they knew somebody, uncle, aunt, mother, father, and so it was just a natural transition for them to do appraisals. But it was not on a professional level. There were no ethics, there were no standards, there was nothing. It's just like, okay, give me a piece of paper and I'll make this laundry list of what you have. And that became not enough. There was a government meltdown about huge amounts of real estate appraisals that had been done that were fraudulent. And the government stepped in because there were massive losses by the banks and investors. And they realized that this is an industry that needs to be regulated and have some standards and have some guidelines. So the association started to changed immensely. Let's bring this together as a real profession and have rules and regs and ethics and guidelines. We would take care of appraisal business, but then because there were friendships formed, that you would bring in problems and say, bring in photographs and you pass them around the room and what do you think this is and what do you think this is? So you formed very close alliances. You got to really trust certain people. It really has become the cornerstone of my professional life. I'm immensely grateful to the Appraisers Association.
What was it like to be one of the first women members of the board?
Actually, Sebastian, it was largely women that started to take the helm. That we looked around and there were probably more women than men at a certain point. There was a sense of empowering of women because usually it's the man president, it's the man chair of the board, it's the man this, the man that, and women started to step up. And I think I may have been the first woman president, but being president really felt like something big. And in fact, it was really important to my career. Every year, at the end of November, they do a story on Kennedy and Kennedy's assassination. So the networks say, hey, maybe we should have an appraiser come and weigh in on this because the actual film, the Kennedy assassination tape, had been living in the National Archives ever since Abraham Zapruder took the film, and it was kept in the government cold storage for security and conservation purposes. At some point, they felt they needed to own it and that it should no longer be the property of the family. So by eminent domain, when you're going to take private property, there needs to be compensation. So what is the value of that film? Wow. NBC decided to do a story about it and about what the value might be because there was an upcoming jury about it. And they called the Appraisers Association and said, would you have somebody who can talk about the value of this film? I went on air and talked about it, and all I could do was cast a very wide net. There are about 20 factors, and I went through each one to see how they could be applied to this film. I said, I don't know, could be, let's take a wild guess, 18 million to 25 million? Boom. So end of a long story, long arbitration. They are awarded $18 million and $1 million in interest and fees and taxes and all since the time of the arbitration.
Wow.
It was a great job to get one's teeth in.
We have obviously a lot of younger people coming into the Appraisers Association. Can you speak a little bit about, or a little more about, what it's meant to you and what you think it would mean to new members coming in to join, what they can get out of it?
The accreditation is really important because I felt when I was starting that, I felt I knew nothing. In fact, I still feel as if I know nothing. And that's a good thing because you need to kind of have that fear and that gearing up of your brain and all your senses in order to do a good appraisal. For new members, having this extraordinary body of members that they can lean on or ask questions of is invaluable. So I think the fact that there's this network available with a tremendous variation of specialties is huge. The other thing that's really important are the conferences and the seminars that they give, because the appraisal world, the art world, has changed dramatically or drastically since I started in the 70s to now.
Is an understatement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like talking about a little rock compared to the universe. That the art world has just exploded, and it's become so much more of a financial tool that appraisers who are interested in academics, in their study, in an artist, in a school, in a movement, nobody has time to really pay attention to the wider picture. Like what articles that would be in the Wall Street Journal, or now there's an explosion of other magazines that will address coin bits, this thing, that thing, mortgages, loans. It really has a much wider impact. The art world has a wider impact now than it did when people used to buy a picture because they liked it.
Well, from me, from past, present, and future members of the Appraisers Association, we're very grateful that you became an appraiser.
I am too. I've truly made lifelong friends. Some of my best friends are people that I've met in the association. So.